What's going on, guys? So today I want to talk about how I find inspiration for my clothing designs. For context, I run a small clothing brand called Apologetic Letters that I've run for the past 4 years, and I really try to find the right mix between originality and inspiration in my designs. I think today, especially due to the low barriers to entry in the clothing business, you see so much saturation between the designs and just constant repetition of what things look like and not a whole lot of originality. But I thought this video would be a good way for me to show 6 of my recent clothing designs that I've done using various inspirations, whether it be music, sports, and other hobbies, to better paint a picture for you if you're a designer or a clothing brand owner, or simply just kind of curious about how the process works for me and other people, and to give a better insight on how things are really designed. So without further ado, let's get into it. Okay, starting off, the first piece that I want to show you guys is what I call the out of time jacket. Now, this jacket here is a puffer jacket, somewhat reminiscent of the various ERL and House of Airs jackets that have been done for the past couple of years. I think puffer jackets with this kind of aesthetic have become a little bit more and more popular, but I had an idea that I wanted to try my own attempt and version of a jacket similar to this with my own design, so that's how I came up with the out of time puffer jacket. Diving further into the inspiration for this design, I used The Weeknd, my favorite artist, one of his songs, Out of Time, and kind of used a lot of the similar motifs and overall symbolism and imagery from the song, the album, and the album cover, music video, all those things to really come together and come up with this design. I designed the whole thing in Illustrator. It was originally supposed to be a hoodie design that I changed into for this puffer jacket. So if you're not familiar with the song, you don't really need to be, but obviously the concept Out of Time, we have the clock with the various warped arrows and numbers, and the whole thing's kind of like very trippy and kind of gives that idea of like the out of time imagery. I also believe I referenced this old poster from a graphic design book that I'd found with the various white stripes kind of going out like that. And then obviously a lot of the various colors with the dark blue night sky is kind of how I interpret it as. That's why we have the dark blue base with the night stars. Yeah, we have the stars in the night sky. If you have seen the music video, you also kind of see some of this put together for kind of how I come up with it. And then even further on, with a lot of things I like to do, I like to, very focus much on little details. So as you can see here on the right sleeve of the puffer jacket, we have this gold embroidery that's actually in Japanese. And this isn't just for any odd reason. It's actually for the song itself samples a song from, I believe, the 1980s, a Japanese pop artist by the name of Tomoko Aran. And so their song, Midnight Pretenders, is what's actually like that main beat that you hear in the song. So I actually took their just the name and did it in Japanese, and so that's what you find embroidered on the right sleeve, kind of paying homage to the sampling of the song, which later led to me interpreting it for the design for this jacket. Okay, next up we have what I like to call the melodic denim. Now, if you're familiar with it immediately, that's probably because you're familiar with the artist Baby Keem and some of his album cover artwork. This one references the melodic blue, and more specifically some of his single album covers. There's this trend that he's been doing for a while where it's a 6-color gradient. I believe he did it for his singles Orange Soda, he did it for another song, and then he did the song No Sense, which was one of the singles for the album, The Melodic Blue. And so honestly, it might look like I'm really just like taking that album cover and putting it onto pants, which is more or less essentially what I did. But a lot of times when I'm trying to take inspiration for something and come up with a new concept, a lot of it is using existing things that I see, whether it is something in music, in sports, some other hobby, anything really in this world that you can think of can be used for inspiration, and thinking about how we can transfer that into a different medium that hasn't been done before. So for me with this, I hadn't done denim jeans like ever. This is my first attempt at doing them. And so I just had this idea at some point to do a 6-color color blocking across the front and back of them. I had done some prior research too to see if this had been done before, anything similar. I know you can find some other color blocking jeans out there that are in different shades, but not quite like this, from the dark to light shade of blue across 6 different colors with the way I did it. And then furthermore, again, adding my own details, I ended up with doing custom buttons using my logo. Right above the right knee, I also did my logo embroidered. And then for the back patch, I also further took inspiration from the Melodic Blue and some of his recent work that I'd done for that. So the patch itself is very simple. It's this dark blue patch with the Apologetic Letters. Found this cool font that I liked and just thought I'd work for it. But then for this little, 8 colors on the back, the little 8-color embroidery actually takes inspiration from some of his merch design and from the tour design. He did this very uses like gummy bear graphics that were all in different shades of colors. So I looked into this tour merch and found all the different colors that were used for those, and that's exactly what I used for this 8-color design, which just happened to work very well. But I thought it just kind of tied the whole idea together of how I took inspiration from Baby Keem's music, his album cover, his tour merch, all this stuff, combined it into one new product that hadn't really been done before. Like, even though you might recognize this for the single album cover, you've never seen jeans like this before. And so I have actually gotten a lot of interest for this one. I'm hoping to release this one somewhat soon, but this one took me just a long time to get the color blocking down right with the manufacturers, and then among some other details that I did for it. Okay, the next product I want to show you is this USA inspired soccer jersey. Out of this whole list, this is probably the most original design I have. This jersey really doesn't take too much inspiration from any one particular thing. So starting off, we have the color. It is red, white, and blue, obviously for US American colors. One interesting detail I added for this was this maroon ribbing. I thought about doing a red or blue that matched the checkerboard color print, but I really like this maroon ribbing that I did. I felt like it contrasted just well enough and worked really well for the jersey design. So the major unique thing that I did with this one that I really am like proud of that I came up with was this dark USA outline in the background of the jersey. Now, some people did give me feedback saying it kind of looked like a sweat stain, or like, you know, looks a little weird like that, which I get. A lot of things I do isn't for everyone and can come across a little like weird sometimes. But I really like this idea as it's like subtle enough, but still like makes it stand out, and it's like a new idea. And then for the branding on the front, I really just took, again, like a font I liked, made some very small adjustments to some of the lettering and came up with that. And then for the embroidery itself, that AL, one thing a lot of soccer jerseys that I've done, especially like international kits, is they'll put the stars for how many World Cups, or I think just major tournaments they've won. I did the 3 stars because that's how long the brand has been around for, 3 years. So I thought that was a cool little touch to it. But again, even with that, the AL was just like some cool lettering that I found, put that together, and then added the 3 stars. Added the collared aspect to it because I just like collared jerseys. And then again, I guess like to further take inspiration from something, the Nike Dry Fit-esque patches that are often at the bottom right side of jerseys. I kind of did my own take on that. As you can see here, it just says Apologetic Letters, has our kind of like motto / mantra, a medium to open in conversation and inspire. And then at the bottom, I put designed for enthusiasts of the beautiful game with the logo there. And then for the back of the jersey, it just shows the number 26, which was actually my jersey number when I played college soccer. Okay, the next piece I want to show you guys is what I call the Pluto sweater. Now, immediately from this sweater, again, I took inspiration from music. My second favorite artist, Rex Orange County, and one of my favorite songs of all time, Pluto Projector. Now for this, I thought I knew I wanted to incorporate this song somehow into, you know, clothes, but I wasn't really sure how to go about that. So upon a lot of ideating, I was going through the sheet music as I learned to play it on the piano or the guitar instrumentals on it. But really the part that stands the most out for this song is the orchestral section. Old enough to understand. So I was able to pull up the string section on Google and was able to come up with this, the first, I think, 4 or 5 bars of it. And so I had the idea for just really, I mean, this might look like a copy and paste thing, which is really what it was. I took that, the sheet music, the 5 instruments that I played, I think it's a quintet, took the first 4 or 5 bars, used it in Photoshop and put it on a knit sweater. And then obviously I wanted to do something different with it, not just take this graphic and put it on a sweater and be done with it. So I had this interesting idea to do like this gradient dip dye. It was something that I'd been teasing the idea with for a while, and this just kind of became the product. I was like, okay, I'll test it for this. So I had this idea for a dip dye sweater, and I landed on the color blue, not for any particular reason, but it is my favorite color, so that's probably why I ended on that. And so what you have here is this dip dye knit sweater. It's kind of like a midweight, decently warm but not too thick sweater. Need to work on the sizing for it. But it's got this really cool dip dye effect, and then we have the Pluto Projector first 4 bars of the orchestral section embroidered around the front. And that's really all there is to that idea for now. But it turned out like really well. Like, I'm really happy with the dip dye effect. I think the embroidery looks cool. Definitely can clean it up, especially with the embroidery on the dip dye part of the sweater. But overall, got like a lot of good feedback for it. And again, this just kind of goes to show you that like I feel like this just meets enough to where like I'm taking something that already exists with, like, you know, I didn't really do anything to create the graphic. But I took the idea of it, right, and transposed it into like another garment. You've definitely seen like it's been done before with like sheet music printed onto sweaters or graphics or whatnot. Like I know LV did one kind of like that a couple years ago, and that wasn't embroidered. It was just like a knit sweater, and that one turned out pretty cool. I was a big fan of that. But I took this song that I really liked, and the part that I liked about the song the most, the string section, came up with a way to use it for a clothes. So I embroidered that on the front, and then I added more detail to it by adding the dip dye effect, which we're going to refine and eventually hopefully get down really dialed. Change the fitting of it, and then it's a custom cut and sew sweater, not just using like any old blanks that are out there, and come up with something completely new, and we'll hopefully release that by sometime this winter. But really just trying to go to show you how the whole design process works, and sometimes it's a lot more complicated than this, sometimes it's a lot more original than this. But it really just goes to show you how simple you can come up with something new that is still feels like innovative and new, I guess. I don't know. Okay, next up we have the Magnet shirt. Now, I think this definitely borrows some similarities to the Pluto sweater in terms of like how it was conceived and overall just a conceptual aspect of it. So this is just really a dress shirt. Again, I didn't use a blank for this one. I did a cut and sew dress shirt with my manufacturer. But the main idea behind this is I printed the entire move order from my famous game onto the entire front, and then I embroidered the final pieces upon resignation of that famous game. So let me back it up a little bit. I've been a fan of chess since I believe I watched The Queen's Gambit, which was, I believe, during COVID or in 2021, somewhere around there. So 2020, 2021, around there. And around that same time, I became a fan of the biggest chess YouTuber at the time and now, Gotham Chess, and started to watch his videos very consistently as they were very entertaining. I think it was 2021. Yeah, 2021. There was the World Chess Championship between the GOAT, Magnus Carlsen, and one of his big rivals, Jan Nepomniachtchi. And so I vividly remember watching this game. It was game 6, and it went on to be the longest game in history at almost 8 hours. And it was roughly, I believe, 136 moves between both players. So I guess like double that to how actually many moves there were in the game. So this game was famous for a variety of reasons, but just the way Magnus was able to win the game was like so intriguing to people that are fans of the game. And then also you have the history of like the two players going against each other, the stakes being, game 6, the World Chess Championship, like the highest level there is for chess. And then, yeah, like an 8-hour game is insane. So I had this cool idea. I think this is a little bit reminiscent of like what Junya and CDG did like in the mid 2000s with like their poem series. So I guess some people were like kind of drew similarities to that immediately. And that might have been where I got like a little bit of the inspiration from. But again, I just had this idea of like, what if I just printed the whole move order on the front? And again, this kind of goes back to the Pluto thing where like I'm not doing anything crazy from like a design aspect. Like again, I literally just found the move order on Google, used like a font that I liked, and then like just put that on the front. And then the other big conceptual aspect of that is I embroidered the pieces on the sleeves. Again, I think I just made those in Illustrator. I might have taken like some reference pieces and then just like outlined them with a pen tool, like very easy to do. And so, yeah, that's really all there is to it. And then I did custom buttons, so they say my brand's name on the buttons, and the custom neck size label. Did a cool video and photo shoot for this one. And yeah, I just thought it's like a really cool conceptual piece, and that's kind of how I came up with the idea. And then lastly, probably the most obvious and simple logo flip I did. This is my brand, the AL cap, Apologetic Letters cap. Don't have a name for it yet, but all I did here is really just flip the LA Dodgers logo and the AL logo. I'm sure you've seen this in context in other brands and places and whatnot. Obviously the Dodgers logo and like the Yankees logo and the Mets and all those guys, like I'm sure you've seen a million variations of those logos. I don't know any other brands that have the AL initials, and so just flipped it and voila. I think this came out really well. I really like the fabric I used for the stripe, the prints. I don't know, like fits well, like looks cool. Yeah, got the side patches to it. So I guess one thing to talk about for the patches, I did a couple of graphic flips for those. Very like, streetwear reminiscent kind of things. So I found some old, I think it was just some Dodgers caps from like the 80s or 90s. And they had these like World Series patches to them. And I did some of my own flips of these. So I guess that's where a lot of like the inspiration came from. And then of course, what I've done for a lot of my hats is I've embroidered the back of them with my brand name. And then for the strap, the closing strap, I did leather and did my logo embossing on them. So pretty simple idea. I thought it'd be easy to end off on something like that, where it's like Very easy to see what I did. It's nothing crazy again, but I think just like ideating a lot and like trying to draw inspiration from a lot of different places. And I think once you constantly have like your creative like brain like working constantly, like I have ideas right before I go to sleep, ideas in the shower, you know, the random times at work, all the time. I'm constantly having new ideas. I vet them and then I go about, you know, bringing them out into the world. So this was a very simple idea that I had, but very happy with how this came out. I think I'm going to try and drop these for the World Series next month. Would be nice if the Dodgers made the World Series. But yeah, it's really like the 6 pieces that I wanted to show you guys and kind of go about the design process for these. Again, if you're, especially if like you're starting out or like a newer brand, or even like me, who's someone like I can promise you, like I'm not that like gifted or like talented with Adobe Illustrator and Photoshop. I've definitely made some things that are like much more like creative or like much more intensive than like the things I've shown you right here. But again, at the same time, I think it goes to show you that like you don't have to have like the most like creative tools or like be the most dominant with like the design tools. Sometimes it really just takes like a really good idea and just being dangerous enough in Photoshop, Illustrator, whatnot to like execute. I think is like very underrated and like slept on. If you gained any value from this, would love to hear your feedback. If you like, leave a like, subscribe, whatever. Let me know what else you would want to hear or me talk about, as I again have a lot of like experience in this underground streetwear vibe scene. Know a lot about the other brands, so I can talk about a little bit of like what I'm seeing out in the space. Can talk about from my own perspective of like starting a clothing brand, how to run a successful release, how to run an unsuccessful release. I know I did that one kind of recently. And yeah, really just anything you want me to talk about. Would love to hear your advice. Anything else you want to hear about, let me know. Thank you. Bye.